Preparing to teach in the lifelong learning sector, brought to you by your virtual tutor from HRD Services, Martin McAfee. Okay, first of all, what context are we looking at for your assignment? What area are you delivering teaching and learning in? Is this workplace training, work-based learning, voluntary sector, further and adult education institute? This is important because you will be looking at the generic factors associated with teaching in any of these areas and specifically for your own specialist subject. To get you started, we're going to look at some activities and exercises from the BTEC Preparing to Teach in the Lifelong Learning Sector book, resource by Ben Graham. Ben outlines that we have discovered teachers and trainers are all around us and have been since the beginning of time. Ben also identifies that the best teachers and trainers are special people who are experts in their own field and have the know-how to pass these skills and specialist knowledge on to learners. So think about that. The role of the teacher is to pass on essential skills and knowledge to learners. To get you started on this area, I'd like you to think about mind mapping for a moment. If this is unfamiliar to you, there are a number of mind map templates available on the web, and we would ask you download one of those and start work at a time that suits you. You can always pause this video whenever you feel like it. So use a mind map to describe what you would expect to do in your dream job as a teacher. So think about all the considerations for what's involved in teaching your dream job as a teacher. Teachers have a great many things to do. Perhaps the most important is passing on what they know about a certain area or subject and ensuring that learners have enough practice and motivation to pass the course. We trust teachers to do this. Trust is at the center of the teacher or trainer's role. Learners trust the person in front of them to provide them with the skills and knowledge at the start of their career. Okay, so another activity for you. What do learners expect from the teacher who is leading the group? Write a list of as many expectations as you can think of and discuss it with someone else in your household, your friends circle. Ben Marshall also points out something very important to get you rolling with your first assignment, and that, of course, is study skills. This is very important as well for examining the role of the teacher and the responsibilities the teacher has to the organisation, to self and to students. Ben suggests that research is a quest, can be exciting, informative and educational. However, we often jump into research and get lost because we haven't thought things out properly. A little planning at the start can be very beneficial. Research is not a linear process. You should try to use as many sources as possible at the beginning to get as wide a picture as you can. So this is where the resources come in HRD Services Learning Management System. We have ebooks, interactive PowerPoint, multimedia presentations, learning objects, links to relevant websites, etc. Coming back to the role of the teacher, this is something very important. When you're practicing in further and adult education, irrespective of what context it is you're teaching or training in, workplace learning, on-the-job training, adult voluntary sector, further education institute, classroom, etc., you still need to keep your own knowledge and understanding of your subject matter high. Students, as we know, will look to you, they will seek information from you, and if you don't know what you're talking about, that's going to come through in your teaching. Okay, so let's look at some case studies. Ben provides us with some excellent examples of the role, responsibilities and boundaries associated with teaching. The examples we have here, lecturer in numeracy, lecturer in electrical installation and a lecturer in beauty therapy. So let's look first of all at the lecturer in numeracy. Some examples of what the role involves is to collaborate in the implementation of the numeracy strand, of the continuing professional development program, to contribute to the development, delivery and evaluation of adult numeracy related teacher training projects and other work of Lifelong Learning UK, to work with the specialist numeracy team to develop the services to be provided by the new Numeracy Professional Development Centre, to develop study packs and online learning resources for adult numeracy teachers and teacher trainers, to undertake other duties when and as required by the director of the unit. So there's some examples of what the role involves as a lecturer in numeracy. Let's take a look at the electrical installation. The role will include teaching, learners, reviews, tutorial and some course development. You will be self-motivated, well organised and will spend your time teaching and preparing lessons for people who are involved with this area of industry. You will have good personal and organisational skills that enable you to communicate effectively with other team members, learners, apprentices and their employers. And finally, lecturer in beauty therapy. A highly motivated person is required to teach and assess a range of beauty therapy programs. You must have a recognised professional qualification together with recent industrial experience. Okay, so these are some advertisements for various roles, teaching, lecturing in further and adult education. So if you think about what the organisations are asking for, they're asking for evaluation skills, delivery skills, good communication, organisational skills to enable effective teaching and learning in the classroom, planning skills that will cover session planning. So what do we need to think about specifically when we look at the area of session planning? One of your criteria is demonstrate good practice in session planning, demonstrate session planning skills. So we've got to think about timings, learning outcomes, what students will be able to do, the broad expectations for what students will be able to do, know and understand as a result of completing an entire training course. Setting learning objectives, the more immediate goals for students in the classroom to work towards, targets, discuss, identify, explain a particular topic or subject. And then we look at the teaching and learning strategies themselves. That's what the teacher and the students are doing at any given point in a session. Of course, then we've got to source appropriate and relevant resources to deliver the content properly, and set appropriate and relevant assessment and learning checks to make sure that real learning is taking place. So quite a lot of information there to take in when we look at session planning. Just a reminder once again of the purpose of this video presentation. We're looking at the Preparing to Teach in the Lifelong Learning Sector book resource by Ben Marshall of edXL. Ben provides another example of someone lecturing in a position in a further education college. Tony is a lecturer in English at an FE college. We asked her to list all the things she felt she had to do when she was in charge of a group of learners. And this is the list that Tony came up with. So we've identified do the administration, including registers and other records, assess ongoing individual skills, assess ongoing individual abilities in the subject for which I teach, assess the learners at the end of the course, mark the exams. Timekeeping, be an information technology wizard, it's an interesting one. Keep up to date with my subject, keep up to date with my professional qualifications, attend meetings, be observed by the college management and the Ofsted inspectors in classroom, teaching observation. Action emails, of course another big part of the teaching role today is the administrative role in managing all the communication with your colleagues and students. Talk to learners on a one-to-one casual basis outside the classroom. Plan courses, plan visits to industrial locations, and of course, ultimately, teach the subject matter. So that gives you an idea of the example given of Tony as a lecturer in an English class in a further education college, asked to outline all the things she felt she had to do when in charge of a group of learners. So that should really help you compile a response to the first assignment. To close out this short video session, I would like you to think about using research skills to find an example of an actual job description for teaching. If you have access to teachers or trainers in the further and adult education sector, you may need to be diplomatic if you're asking teachers who are in post. Of course, they may not wish to divulge too much information from the organisation. So I'd like you to do that, to research an example of an actual job description. Okay. Also, you need to be aware of government expectations and requirements for teaching and training. Research what these standards are. The websites the government has set up should assist you. And when you've finished researching, again, draw a mind map. You can get a template off the internet titled New Standards for Teachers and Trainers, and then write about what you understand the role, responsibilities, and boundaries of the teaching function to be. Final word on boundaries. Don't just think about the professional relationship between student and teacher. Obviously, that comes as standard. You have to be mindful of the boundaries, not to overstep those. Your professional trainer or teacher, not to get too close in personal relationship with any students. Got to be mindful of language, political correctness in these times, etc. But also think about knowing when to refer students for additional support. The limitations of the teaching role prevent us as teachers and trainers from providing information outside of our subject area. So, for example, if a student requires some careers advice, financial advice, issues surrounding health, well-being, etc., the teaching role does not always lend the ability for us to sit down on a one-to-one basis with students and offer that kind of specialist support and guidance. This is where internal and external support systems come in, signposts, if you will, to point students to literature, information available to help them make decisions. Now, giving you some examples of what those organisations might do or who they might be. We've got the admissions office in the further education college environment. We have the student welfare department or students union in some case. The learning support department are also available to offer support and guidance for somebody with a disability or an additional learning need. Example, dyslexia, dyspraxia, etc. Maybe behavioral issues, ADHD, autism, and so on. External bodies in existence, disability awareness groups. You have Childline, local GP, drug and alcohol abuse clinics, forums for students to access to get additional information, guidance and support. As previously stated, the limitations of the teaching role prevent us from offering that specialist support. So that's really something to consider when looking at the boundaries associated with the teaching role. Okay, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for spending the time watching and listening. This video was brought to you by Martin McAfee, Virtual Tutor, HRD Services. If you'd like to check out our courses that are available, there's a lot more than teacher training available. Please go to hrdservices.co.uk. HRD, Human Resource Development Services.co.uk. You can also take a look at the state-of-the-art learning management system by visiting hrds.org.uk. There's a short video on the website that will show you how to navigate through the various resources in your course view, upload and send your work for marking, etc. So once again, thank you for taking the time to listen and to watch the video. Look out for the second part in this series to do with legislation, codes of practice and equality and diversity in the lifelong learning sector.